The most powerful and the brightest being in the sky is the sun. On this winter night, as sun sets in the western sky, wearing his brightly colored robe, he brings on the first part of the night. At the same time, we can see the next brightest being in the sky, the moon, round and full and rising in the eastern sky. It is winter, and we are privileged to hear some of the sacred customs and stories the Crow people tell about their grandfather, the sun, and grandmother, Moon.
Bala ochichilik. Bala absaluga. Ba ijuwa. Aliga kokok. Balajua.
It is a cold winter night. Winter is the time the Crow people listen to stories that have been passed down by our ancestors and told to us by our elders. We're told beliefs and stories about what we see in the sky, the Milky Way, this star, that constellation. But when it comes to the brightest beings in the sky, the sun and moon, the stories are a bit different. Our elders teach us to pay close attention to the sun and moon, to watch them as they move along their paths, to observe the way they behave. By doing this, we come to wonder at them, and in time, we can learn directly from them. The sun and moon tell us their own stories. Our ancestors watched the sun and learned how to predict the weather and the seasons, and how to tell time. Our ancestors gave the sun and moon their Crow names. They say that long ago, so long that no one can say, but in that long ago time, the moon's path crossed in front of the sun's path. It seemed for a while as though the sun had died. It was known that the sun had been in the sky for as long as anyone could remember and had to be very old, so they named him Izakachalya, old man. Moon was old as well, and so they named her Kalachalya, old woman. Sun is also called Izakachalya, grandfather, because he is like a grandfather to us. Every day, even today, when we see an eclipse, we are reminded of how important the sun is to us and how dependent we are on him. We could not live without the sun. Sun is the star that gives us our lives. It is sun who sends his gift of light and energy to every living thing on earth, to plants, animals, and all humankind. It is the sun who places his energy into the foods we eat. It is sun who warms the skin on our face and arms when we sit in a shaft of sunlight on even the coldest of days. Our sun, the old man, our grandfather, is the most powerful being in our sky. They say the sun has a many-colored robe which we can see when it is warm. When it is cold, he wears his gray robe. The next time you see a sunset, remember to look carefully which robe sun is wearing. How many colors will you see? The moon is also called Kalachalya, grandmother. Each month she disappears for a few days, but she is ever faithful, and always she returns to us. At first, she is a slim crescent of light. Each night, she appears to grow as she moves eastward through the stars. Finally, we see her all round and beautiful and dressed in sun's light. They say there is a woman on the moon. On full moon nights, look at the dark places on the moon, and you can see a woman standing there. She is hanging up meat to dry. Moon continues on her eastward journey, until she is once again a thin crescent. She disappears, but always she returns to us, a small crescent of light. A custom we have about the moon is that each month when we see the new crescent, we tell our children, "Come out and see the moon." We say the moon is rising, and the children jump and say, "The next new moon I'll be this tall." And the children jump up as high as they can. We say, the sun is our grandfather, the moon is our grandmother, and the earth is our mother, our first mother. The sun, the moon, the earth, they are all living beings who give us many gifts. When we observe the sun, the moon, and the earth, we wonder, what story are you telling me about yourself? What lessons do you wish me to learn from you? The sun and moon and the direction of the path they take are sacred to us. They are a part of our lives. Sun rules the day and moon rules the night. And every day and every night, if we watch and wonder, they teach us great lessons about our world and about ourselves.
It's a good bet that one of the first things you noticed about our world is that we have day and night, and the first sky beings you noticed were sun and moon. No doubt this is because our sun and moon are the brightest objects in our sky. As we grow older, we see that sun and moon each appear to travel across the sky. Sun on his sky path during the day, and moon on her sky path during the night. Although there are times when her path allows us to see her in the day, and times when we don't see her at all. Listen now as we hear a story of the sun and moon, a science story. A story that will help us understand how the sun and moon came to be, and how our eyes play a trick on us as the sun and moon appear to travel through the sky.
From ancient times to now, the Crow people have known the power of the sun. In our time, scientists have helped us understand how it is that Grandfather Sun is so powerful, and how we could not live without the sun. Our sun is a star, and if it were as far away from us as other stars, we would have to use a telescope to see it. There was a time when our sun was not a star. It was just a ginormous, humongous cloud of hydrogen gas and dust, millions of miles across. In that long ago time, the cloud of gas began to swirl around its center where most of the material stayed. It swirled round and flattened out. And when the center of the cloud got hot enough, and when the atoms were moving around fast enough, the atoms collided or smashed into one another and created a new kind of gas called helium. And scientists have learned that when atoms fuse together to make a new atom, energy, in the form of heat and light, is sent out into the universe. When the sun sends out rays of light and heat into space, we call that radiation. And this is how it is that the sun, indeed all stars, came to be, and how the sun and all stars radiate energy we can see and energy we cannot see. The moon came to be in a totally different way. When we ask scientists to tell us how the moon came to be, they tell us a fantastic story. Billions of years ago, when our Earth and all the planets were very young, Earth was a sphere of molten material that traveled in its orbit around the sun. A baby picture of the Earth might look something like this. In that time, there were hundreds of small planets called planetesimals, and many hundreds of thousands of smaller objects like asteroids, all spinning and circling the sun. They say that it happened that one of those planetesimals, about the size of Mars, was on a path around the sun. In time, it moved close to Earth's path, traveling nearer and nearer to the Earth until it smashed into the Earth with a big splash. Instead of plunging deep into the Earth, it kind of hit the side of the Earth. Most of the planetesimal melted into the Earth, but some of it and some of the Earth splashed high into space and began to orbit around the Earth. In time, a process called accretion caused all that material to mix and stick together to create another hot sphere. The Earth and that hot sphere began to revolve around each other. That second, smaller sphere, it became the moon. The still hot, newly formed moon and Earth might have looked like this. If you have a picture of yourself when you were first born, you can easily see that you don't look like that anymore. In a few years, say, when you graduate from college, you will be older and you'll look older and not look as you do now. And when you are old enough to be a grandparent, you'll again look different. We change over our lifetime, and so do our sun and moon and Earth and all the planets. It's just that our lifetimes are short, while sun and moon and stars live for billions of years. It took millions of years for the moon to be born and change to look as she does now. Millions of years passed and moon began cooling on the outside. The inside of the moon was still molten hot when giant asteroids and meteors and space debris crashed into the moon, some with such great force that the surface of the moon cracked and hot liquid lava oozed up through the cracks. In time, the lava cooled to become the dark patches we now see on the moon. People around the world use these dark patches to create pictures on the moon. The Crow people see a woman on the moon. When the moon is full, you can see her too. Here is her head. Here is her body. Here we see her legs. And if you look carefully, you can see her arms curving up over her head. She is hanging meat to dry. The dried meat will help feed her family long after the hunting season is over. The Crow people know their moon is always watching over them, as indeed she is. The side of the moon that shows the woman is always facing the Earth. Scientists tell us that this is because the moon rotates once as it revolves around our Earth every month. How do we know the moon rotates? Let's take some pictures and observe how she appears to move through the sky and change her shape. Let's start with a full moon and track her for a full month. Here the moon is full and we can easily see the woman. A few days pass and moon moves a quarter of the way around the Earth. We see that she appears to have lost a quarter of her light. A few more days pass and the moon has moved halfway around the Earth. We can see only half of a full moon. Moon continues to travel until she's traveled 3/4 around the Earth, and 3/4 of her surface is dark. Moon continues to move along her path. We can't see her, but we know she is there, looking down upon us. For in 3 or 4 days, we see her again as a small crescent of light. We wait a few days and then we see her 1/4 filled with sun's light. We take another picture when she is filled with 3/4 of sun's light. Finally, Moon has circled the Earth and is now back in a position for us to see her, fully lit by the sun, just as she was a month ago. Now all we have to do is line up the pictures we took. We can see that she has rotated once around her axis as she revolved once around our Earth. Amazing. Crow children play with the moon just as all children play with their grandmother. Each month after the moon has been hidden in the light of the sun for a few days, she returns as a thin crescent of light in the western sky. The grown-ups call for the children to come outside. It's a new moon! When the children see their grandmother, Moon, they call out saying, "By the next moon I'll be this tall." Then the children jump up as high as they can. The sun and moon have been a source of wonder for all peoples everywhere. The Crow people and astronomers know well about that sense of wonder and pass it on to us in the stories they tell.